So I'm going to show you a keynote, and it's a little clumsy because I can't have my finger on it. Mary back there is going to be signal. I'm going to signal her. I started working on the exhibition in 2007. You don't have to do anything yet, Mary. So I was president of Local 892 from 2001 to 2007. I was a 2-term president. And during that time, so it's a long story, so just get comfortable. So during that time, I had an epiphany. You could say I even had an epiphany when I became president in 2001. And my epiphany was that I had lived my life as a more or less a motion picture costume designer and was really only concerned about 2 things: my own deal memo and where my next job was coming from. And that's pretty much the way we live. What are we getting now, and where is our next job coming from, if there is one? And I saw that my colleagues were more or less the same. So when I saw that contract for the first time, it opened my eyes in a kind of a way where it was like taking an ice water bath. I was so shocked. I was so shocked by the contract. I was shocked. And I thought, if my motion picture and television colleagues really knew how bad this contract was, they would be as shocked as me. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not have mandatory hire. I'm sorry, Sal.
No, I know.
I'm sorry.
We're working on it.
Okay, so this is like a soapbox. Okay, I'm not going to be this way all evening, but we do not have mandatory hire. This is a big thing. Yet. Okay, so mandatory hire means that a producer does not have to hire a costume designer. So I brought that on, right? I brought that on. I started to feel that. Then I started looking at what we were paid across the board. It's bad. Then I went to my first negotiations, and some of you here went with me, but I went to my first negotiations, and we were so disrespected. It was bad. And I really thought, there has to be a way. There has to be a way to change the conversation. There has to be a way to change the paradigm. We cannot, we should not accept this. But this seemed to be set in stone. Well, I had learned something being on, I know this is going to sound so random, but I had learned something. I was on the board of Planned Parenthood Los Angeles for many years. And on the board of Planned Parenthood Los Angeles, we always bemoaned the fact that we couldn't start sex education in LA City schools in elementary school, right? And that we were invited to teach sex education. Okay, this conversation is so random, you will never be able to tell it to your friends, okay? She was talking about Planned Parenthood, she was talking about sex education. How is this going to get back to costume design? You have no idea. I'm going to take you there, all right? So we were talking about the fact that we couldn't get in, Planned Parenthood could not get in to teach sex education in elementary schools, and that by the time we could teach sex education in high school, it was too late, right? Everybody was pregnant. All right, how do I bring this home to where we live? So I go to my first negotiation. I'm sitting there at the AMPTP. They have no idea and do not care about our issues. They don't care. So we're not mandatory hire, we're being paid grossly less than what our value is. They don't care. And I'm thinking, okay, how do you start to change the paradigm? How do you start to change the conversation about what costume designers do? You get them when they're young. So, in 2001, I called Gene Furstenberg, who ran AFI, and I said, I want to teach young filmmakers about costume design. I am going to get young filmmakers in the palm of my hand so that when they graduate and they get a job and they see Ann Roth, they should be so lucky to see Ann Roth. And when they see Ann Roth, they're going to say, oh, I know what you do because I had Deborah's class. And I'm going to pay you more money, or I'm going to value you more because I understand what you do. In those negotiations, I had this epiphany that it was too late for those people across the table. They didn't care, they didn't know, they didn't have any interest in what we had, our value. All right, so that was the first time, and that's when I started teaching, and not teaching costume design to costume designers. I'm going to get to the exhibition in a minute, because the exhibition is a natural evolution of my thinking about how to change the conversation. How do we not accept precedent? It's not written in stone. You know, it's all about changing the conversation. So this is where I started teaching in 2001. I continued teaching, and then in 2007, I worked on a book, and the book came out called Dressed. It was a big survey book, 100 years of costume design, but it was really a picture book, but it was like a toehold. And then in 2007, the year that my last year of presidency of the Guild, I decided maybe a grand exhibition. You know, I can't teach everyone individually. Can I tell you about costume design? Can I tell you about costume? Can you tell you about the value of costume design? I felt like I was a Jehovah's Witness. It's like, would you like to talk about, can I talk, you know, like costume design? No. So it's like, instead of teaching classes personally, I thought, I'm gonna have a really big exhibition. I tried, you know, I kind of looked into having a television show, but a big exhibition about costume design. So here we are, and it's only 10 after 6. And we're getting to costume design. This is called Personal Journey, right? I tried to sell it to LACMA. LACMA was not interested. LACMA rejected this exhibition 3 times, turned it down 3 times. And I tried every which way. And I tried, like you, I don't take no for an answer. Can you tell? I do not take no for an answer. I will find a way, right? But they were putting up the big wall at LACMA. So then I went to the Museum of Modern Art. And I met at the Museum of Modern Art, and I learned 2 things. This was in 2006. I met with a woman at the Museum of Modern Art who just died. Her name was Mary Lee Bandy. In the space of 2 hours, she taught me 2 important things. Well, the first thing she said was, you seem very defensive. I was very defensive. You want to hear about costume design? Okay, so I was very defensive. And so the first thing, I started talking about the craft. And she said, stop. She said, Deborah, this is the Museum of Modern Art. Across the street is the Museum of American Crafts. If you want to talk about craft, I suggest you go across the street.
Wow.
She said, if we're going to do this exhibition or talk about an exhibition about costume design, it's the art of costume design. I learned that. So from that point forward, in all of my writing, which I hope you'll read, 2 words are missing: craft and wardrobe. There is no wardrobe in any of my books. You check. No wardrobe. All right. I don't mind it. I have one at home, you know. All right. The other thing that I learned from Mary Lee Bandy, which was scary, and then I'm going to put out there. So I started talking to her about what we really do. This creation of the individual, the creation of personality, the creation of the people in the story. And she listened. And after a while, she said to me, Deborah, costume, that's such a bad word for what you really do. Don't you have another word? And that was really heavy. And I have taken that on. And I looked at her and I thought, yeah, I know, because the word costume is so associated with all that stuff we don't want to be. It's so Halloween. It's so Mardi Gras. It's so surface. It's so about the dress. And that's really not what our aspiration is. So I learned these two important things from this woman at the Museum of Art and Art. They didn't take the show, but I didn't go away empty-handed. So I got to the V&A. I got to the V&A because in 2002, on my 50th birthday, I graduated with a PhD from the Royal College of Art in the history of design. And the Royal College of Art has a relationship with the Victoria and Albert Museum. And I went and I said, I'd like to do a survey exhibition, a majestic survey exhibition on the contribution of the costume designer to cinematic storytelling. Not on costume design, but on the contribution of the people, of us to cinematic storytelling, and our influence on popular culture, and our influence on contemporary mythology, because that's what movies have become. And they got it. And then, ladies and gentlemen, it took 5 years and what you're going to see inside, $5 million to make this show happen. This is a £3.5 million exhibition. This was developed as a blockbuster exhibition, and that's what we produced. So, Mary, let's go to the first slide.